Hello everyone, we're in Elie again, the next day after yesterday's painting, which is just over there. But I've seen this boat here and I thought, well, that's an interesting angle. Don't normally see boats at that angle, at least with my limited experience with harbours and beach and boats and things. But I like the idea of it. I like something that looks a bit different from normal, so this looks like a lot of fun. So we're just going to circle it and see what angles we can get and what compositions we can find, but I'm sure we can find one. We've been waiting here for about 40 minutes now, 50 minutes, something like that, just for the tide to go out a little bit. Just not long ago, the water was at top of the boot height, so now it's gone down. So we have a short time. The tide's got another, 20 minutes to go at low tide, and then it starts coming back in again. So really got to rush again. Done the little sketch of it here. Again, I didn't need to do a notebook sketch because I'm not really changing anything around in it, so nothing really to work out. And so this is the scene here. I love the angle of the boat. I don't see that very often, so that really caught my eye and tickled my fancy really. So this is the picture I'm going to do, and it's just a question of getting stuck in and trying to decide where I'm going to start. Okay, I'm going to start with the most dramatic part of the picture, which is the dark blue of the boat, and that will give me something to work on. You've got to start somewhere, so that's where I'm going to go for it. So ultramarine blue, a little bit of brown, burnt umber in it, because it's quite dark. And here I go. Goes a little bit lighter towards the front, so you've got the reflections of the sky coming into it. And curves round. There we go. Again, you've got to start somewhere, and it's a tricky part to decide where you're going to start, but I think on a dramatic part is always good for me. So it's going to take 2 layers to get the darkness in correctly. I'm going to deal with my first big wash now, and this is for the sea. I'm going to leave the sky till later on, because again the mast is coming through and I want to paint around the mast. So I'm going to start with my big wash on the sea and then leading down into the foreground. So again, it's my big squirrel mop, my Isabey number 8, and ultramarine blue and a bit of cobalt. It's got a little bit of red in it as well, so a little bit of alizarin crimson at the top here, and it's across right like that. It's very blue, really blue colour. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then over the other side as well. And then so it's blue out there, and then it starts to change colour as we go down. So it picks up a little bit of the colour of the sand. You see that? Again, across the other side as well. And as we progressively get down, I'm going to put in more raw sienna, and it'll change the colour again. Amazing the way that the colour here, that was pretty as well, the way that colour suddenly merged into that one. That was nice. Again, happy accidents. Didn't mean that to happen, but take advantage of mistakes, as sometimes they're not mistakes, sometimes they're beautiful, beautiful moments. So more of the blue, changing the colours all the time through it, adding reds and adding blues. And that'll go, it'll have more shadow in there eventually, going over the top of that colour. Now we're going to really get the sand colour going, so more and more sand, so raw sienna over the top of that. And that's the first layer done. Well, the next part we're going to have a little go at is the underside of the boat. Now, it is white, but because it's in the shade, it's knocked it down a few notches. So this is all shade here. So the top part of it, there's a lovely green in it. So I'm going to use Viridian for that, and it's going to go across there. And underneath the bow, the ship as well. To the keel, and it's going to go a little bit bluer. So add those in, and add a little bit of alizarin crimson as well. It just picks up a little bit of red as it goes down to the base. Always changing that, and then there we go. That's the base. At least the first layer of it done. Just pick up when you have a puddle there that you don't like. Just shake your brush out, and then it'll soak it up. It'll soak it up. There you go, and it's gone. So let that part dry before I can go into it with a second layer. The next part, which is the same way I did it yesterday, is the mast. So I'm going to put the mast in first, rather than the blue sky. I'm going to put the mast in, because if I painted the mast over the blue sky, it'll be a very blue toned brown, and I don't want that. I want it to be a raw sienna colour. So that's why I do that now. I want it to contrast with the colour of the sky. So I'm going to follow my little drawing and then be quite bold, and down it goes. There we go. That worked out pretty well. Again, we have while I've got that colour out, I may as well put in the life preserver at the back of the boat. Right there. Great. So 2 accents of yellow. This colour needs a little bit of yellow or something else, or this picture needs a little bit of other colours in it. Otherwise it's going to be very blue, which I don't necessarily want completely. So the mast going in like that gives it a little bit of change of colour. You're just going to get the blue in of the sail there, the wrapping of the sail. I think it's a pretty colour. So work out where you're going to put it. So sort of plan ahead. So work out which direction it's going to go. So here it goes. So nice and quickly, decisively more than anything else. There you go. That's the sail in. And then we have another one, which I'm going to do. The sky is going to be cobalt blue. So the sail in the background, I'm going to make a different blue. So that's going to be ultramarine blue. And I'm going to take it in one stroke. Work out where it's going to go, which is there. So it's going to go from the top and quickly down to there. Okay. Next part, working out all the order of things, are the houses in the background. So there's a little bit of land coming out into here, which I'm going to place in. So it's grassy, so rocky at the front, and then progressively yellower as it's summertime. So the grass has dried at the top, so it's more of a yellow colour at the top, and then going to go for a bit of burnt umber here, and then there's a little bit of burnt umber for the little rocks at the front, and that gives that sense of rocks. Maybe a bit of blue as well, just to cool it down. Okay, now we've got the house on the top. Again, very simply pop it in. I think the whole trick of painting is to simplify. It's an art form, simplifying, just understanding how to simplify something, to just get the essence of the picture or the thing you're painting in without getting the fiddly brush in. If you can understand how to do that, then you've really moved on a lot. So I'm going to follow the horizon out, and it's going to come to the little island over there. So it's a quite dark, rocky thing, and it's got a little tower on it to warn people it's there, so the sailors don't come into it. But I'll just paint the rocks in there for the moment. And right in the distance, there's a little, well, not little, it's a huge oil rig, which is quite common up the further forth to have these oil rigs, which some people find them ugly, but I find them so pretty. I could happily do some paintings of them, but to me they're really pretty things. So, but I'll put them in now. So it's quite a long way away. So there's a lot of bluing that's going on. So it's a little platform here, and then the tower goes up. Amazing sight. At night time, all the lights are on. It's a really pretty sight. The next part is to do the sky. So this is the big wash. So back to my big Isabey brush, squirrel brush, and I'm going to start at the very top here, and go round the rigging. So I don't want to make the sail or the mast a blue shade, so that's why I'm going round it. Doesn't so matter so much for the actual blue sail, but it does for the rest of it. So get that coming in. So I'm working across from left to right and top to bottom, so that I keep the same colour all the way along, so that doesn't change. And then I'm going to maybe reduce the blue as we go down. To try and not to paint over the mast. So I'm not really worried about being pernicious with keeping to the line. There we go. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Viridian, again to get that bluing effect and to get that little bit of change of colour in. I'm going to leave a few bits of white patches to sort of indicate a cloud or two, even though there are none, but it's a bit plain. Just a plain cloud, plain blue sky is a bit boring really. So just have a little bit of a few spots of white showing through. The last one should bring down to the sea. And here, and over there finally. Okay. Going to give the sea a little bit more intensity because it's much bluer at the middle distance there, so that's going to really give it a little bit of a lift. And maybe add a bit of green in, just make it really intense. And again the other side too. Give it that shade in, and then we come down to the nearer water, so the tide's going out, so I'm going to give it a little bit more greeny colour or yellowy colour in it. And again the other side. Working on the hull of the ship now, the boat. So we're going to do this area here just to bring, because it's too light at the moment, so we're going to intensify that. So again, bringing in that green layer that goes all the way to the front, and then down here, and then underneath the boat here we'll introduce a bit of green. And then it's a sort of dirty white colour, so a bluey browny colour on the other parts. It may a bit of red. So it's an unusual colour that. There's nothing in my palette that's going to give that. So I'm going to give it a bit of yellow into it, and that's going to give it the sense that it's curving round, hopefully. It's a sort of dirty colour. There we go. Bring that into here. The hull of the ship. There. Top of the sky, a little bit more intensity. Again, the way it's dried, it's all floated down, so it all looks pretty much the same colour, but I like to give the top, make it seem a little bit different from the rest of it. So I'm going to give that a little bit more intensity. Then bring it down. This is another wash. Keep it going through, so it just fades into the rest of the picture. A bit more green. There we go. Got to remember with watercolour that what colour you put down tends to lighten as it dries. Going to put the shadow area of the boat in now. So I'm going to work out where it goes. So it starts in here, around here. So it's quite a blue colour. Remember, shadows are blue. And then add a little bit of brown, just to change it. And then it extends around the boat over to there. Trying to keep the edge, so it's quite a, because the sun's so bright, there's quite a firm edge on it. That's okay. Okay, that's really given the sense of there's a shadow and the light's coming from the left. What I've done now is really to paint the broad areas of the picture. So those are the broad areas. So imagine the pyramid, so at the base of the pyramid it's big, and then as you go out to the pyramid to the peak, then the brushes get smaller. And that's how I paint in watercolour. So big areas first, broadly painted, and then moved up into the details. So now it's time to paint the smaller things in the picture. So things like the rudder coming in, so it's a line going down there, and then the propeller shaft coming out of it there, and a few, whatever these things are on the side of the boat. Always trying to change the colour again, so I've gone brown, now I'm going to go blue. Drainage holes, I guess, at the back, so a nice dark base here. Get the angle there right. Now it's just a question of refining the image a lot, as much as possible anyway. There's a little rock at the base which I'm going to put in. A lot of interesting colours on it. So that's the first layer of it. And then I'll put another layer over the top. And I might put one the other side as well, because it's a bit plain this side. So I'll just match something across here, something similar. And just to fill. Remember, it's the composition that you're interested in. Doesn't have to be completely true to life. So a little rock was going to go in there. Just added something to it there. And then there's a little reflection of it in the water. So maybe put something in there and there, coming through. As you can see, the tide's gone out now, but I actually preferred it with the water in. I like the reflections of the and the variation of the sea coming in. So I'm going to paint it like it was, and have the sea in there instead. So trying to get the little reflections of light in. So changing the colour a lot. So trying to imagine what the sea was like. Whether it works or not, who knows? But I think I prefer it like that. Changing in there, always trying to. Well, I'm trying to give the reflected light coming in more than anything else, and that includes the big shadow area as well. Nothing wrong in doing some there. A really dark patch in here, where the sandbanks caught the base of the boat. Then it goes really dark in there. And going to do a bit of the rigging now. Yesterday I did the rigging with a pencil, but I think I'm going to change that today and do a bit of the rigging with a brush, just to give it a little bit stronger line. It's very, very strong colour. Up there. And then I'll introduce some of the rigging as pencil marks later on, but maybe just give it a few marks just to make it a little bit firmer. So much of it. There we go. Try and work out where you're going to put it as well. Next bit comes the white paint, which is going to give it a little bit of variation. I've squeezed the paint just now, the white paint, out onto the palette. I do that very last thing, because if I do it at the beginning, the paint just goes hard, well, not hard, but makes it much harder to use and make it turn into a liquid again. So white paint just is best to squeeze out right at the very end of it, and then you've got a little bit more control over it. Okay, so it's going to be painting the highlights of things. Maybe a smaller brush there. The tops, the light coming in, top of here, just to hint where things shine. Coming down to the water now, and to get a little bit of maybe lighter blue coming in just to lift it a bit. Okay, that's nice. And into the darker parts of the sea, there's a little bit of surf in the distance, which I might bring up. Over here, it's sort of coming in a bit, like a little cresting wave. Okay, so there as well. And again, the other side as well. There's a wave coming in. See, that's my white almost finishing. Maybe not that angle. That's a little bit of light coming in there. Lots of little reflections. That's the painting pretty much done now, and it's a really blue. It's a really blue scene. So if you like blue, it's great. So the last bit is the pencil work, which is just to do the bits of rigging really. So just to give a little bit more marking. I think that really helps with rigging in particular, and go around some of the parts like the oil rig, a few of the rocks, maybe that little buoy around the side of the boat. Give that edge a little bit of a going over too. Houses, not too much really going on in terms of pencil work. Just like giving it a little bit of delineation on it. Maybe this rudder might need something as well. And we got the ropes saving you falling off the side of the boat. There's another one there. I think that really helps it. And last but not least is the signing, which I'm going to do on the left because it's plainer really. Right, and James Potter. There we go. Here's the finished painting. Again, it's painted on Fabrino Artistico paper, which is a very good quality paper. It's 100% cotton, so it's going to last a long time and keep its colour for a long time as well. It's 20 by 14 inches, so a good size, and worked out well. There we go, all done now. Enjoyed that. And it's been a very sunny day, a lot of reflected light, which is nice to see, and such a beautiful scene as well. You don't often see that, at least I don't anyway. Thanks for watching this, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.